Department is pushing back against an agreement that bans U.S. military aircraft from flying over designated safe zones in Syria. The deal setting up those zones was hammered out by Russia, Turkey, and Iran. It goes into effect today. Here to explain the impact on the U.S. campaign against ISIS in the region, Fox News military analyst General Jack Keane. General, thank you so much for joining us.
Good seeing you, Elizabeth.
So the more we learn about this deal that went down, we learn that representatives from the United States were not involved, and we learn that the opposition forces were out of that, especially once they learned that really the people calling the shots were Russia and Iran. So how did this go forward?
Well, it'll go forward similar to other ceasefires. You're right. The United States is not involved. The opposition forces are not involved. We made the right decision in pushing back and not participating in this. The guarantor of the safety of the people in these de-escalation zones are the Iranians, and that is totally and completely unacceptable to us. The Iranians are the main ground force in Syria now, not the Syrian army, and therefore they are the main killing machine on the ground of civilians, so we're not going to take that. What normally happens in these so-called ceasefires, now they're calling it a de-escalation zone, is the Russians reset, consolidate, and then gradually after a week or so of activity calming down, they start to take operational advantage of the situation on the ground and then start their bombing again. And that'll be the pattern that'll play out here.
You talk about an operational advantage. I'm curious as to the escalation of involvement from Russia. The civil war began, what was it, almost 7 years ago. And then when they started to get involved, how much have they gained from their involvement in this particular conflict?
It's pretty significant. Well, first of all, in the actual conflict itself, they have now replaced the Assad regime air power. They are the main air power that's being used every single day. They have been pounding civilian communities since our cruise missile strike into Syria. Every single day they have used deep penetrator bombs on underground hospitals. They are actually committing war crimes every day, the Russian air power. And what it's done for Russia strategically, the countries in the region saw the fact that Russia came in and backed up an ally, where we failed to back up our allies in the region, particularly after the chemical line was crossed, the so-called red line in 2013. They are doing arms deals as a result of that with every Sunni Arab ally we have, by and large, and they want to build nuclear power plants throughout the Middle East. This has all taken place as a result of their military intervention. And the reason why the Sunnis are doing deals with them is because they want to hedge with the Russians against the Iranians. This is why President Trump has made the right decision to go to the Middle East and renew this relationship, revitalize it, let them know that we've got their back, and we're going to return to this traditional and historical relationship that we've always had with these leaders in the Middle East.
Yeah, you sort of set up my next question perfectly, because we are looking at President Trump making a trip over there. What does he need to get accomplished? Because it seems as if Russia's getting everything that it wants, that they want, especially when it comes to this conflict in Syria.
They are already enthused with this president because he has spoken to them, he's met with some of the leaders. So they are truly looking forward to the renewal of the relationship. They're going to talk about ISIS and see if they can provide some help. ISIS is larger than the caliphate in Iraq and in Syria. It has expanded to 30 other countries. Some of those countries they have relationships with, and some of those are their countries as well. They're going to spend a lot of time talking about Iran. Iran is a major threat in the Middle East. All these Sunni Arabs fear it. And after the deal that Obama made, accommodated the Iranians and given them back all of that money, they know that money will be used against them. So they'll talk to him quite a bit about that. I think the other thing that's happening, he's going to Saudi Arabia, where the holy shrines are that represent Islam. And that's going to send a message. In this country and in other parts of the world, people have got the perception that he's anti-Muslim because of this travel ban. And I don't believe he is, and certainly the administration is not either. And I think that's going to make another statement to the Muslim world that the first trip he's making to the Middle East is to Saudi Arabia and also, obviously, to Israel.
Wow, fascinating. I only had about 6 more questions, but I'm getting the cue in my ear.
Answers are too long.
No, I love it. General Jack Keane, that just means we have to have you back.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Good talking.